Now, where do I start? We met, my wife and I met Clint several times, but the most recent was at the Republican Convention. And at the Republican Convention, there was several running for the Senate that were there. Dino Rossi was one, and Clint was another, somebody else. And Dino Rossi, when he got through, he gave a nice speech and everything. It was all about him, but it's all right. But he gave a nice speech, and there was a polite ovation when he got through. I thought the roof was going to come down when Clint got through. Clint is a motivator. He is an encourager. And one of the things that struck me the most is why he's running. He says, Dino said, I'm running because the polls show I can win. I think that is a very, very limited way to just throw your hat in the ring. And that's the kindest way I can say it. I heard Clint, and Clint says, you know, my kids are growing up into this world that we're leaving. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned how we're leaving this world, this country, to our kids. And that's why I'm putting out the energy and the effort to run for U.S. Senate. And I say amen to that. So, Clint, come talk. Oh, I was going to tell you one story about Clint, and one other story is that I was going down to Spokane Valley with my son-in-law, who had this big truck, a U-Haul with all the garbage in it, and his stuff in it, what garbage it is. And lo and behold, we got to Eltopia, and the damn U-Haul quit, right there in your backyard. So that's my memory of your area. Let's share with us.
Well, I'm certainly apologetic about that. But it might have, was it during the summer months?
What's that?
Did it overheat? Your rig overheat?
Oh, I don't know. There was some electronic problem that took 3 days to fix.
Well, anyway, I know we recognize Cindy, but I also want to recognize John. John he is a big half of Cindy's life, and believe me, without the two of them, it's a great combination right there. That's the 1-2 punch. And then I also want to thank Greg and Susie for putting this whole thing together. Wilcox, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then I told Rob Chase, my sign guy from up in Spokane, it isn't very good, Rob, when the sign guy out dressed as a candidate for the forum. But that's all right. Yeah, I come from Eltopia. And Eltopia was once called Hell to Pay. And I'm not making this up. I'm serious. It was called Hell to Pay because when they put the railroad ties on the ground and they laid those irons and they were driving the spikes, it was 117 degrees. And the railroad workers said they had to go through hell to get their paycheck. And it was. We're desert. And it wasn't until the 1950s, in fact, my folks moved to Eltopia after Dad served in the military in 1954. Him and my mother put every dime they had into buying this piece of ground. And it was a desert. The water hadn't even arrived yet from Grand Coulee Dam. And then they were told by the military that they had to live on the ground. They got to buy this through a GI Bill and they had to live there. They didn't have no money to build a house. So Dad put up the army tent that he had, and they stayed in it. The first winter, one night got to be 19 below zero. We're in a desert. We have extremely high temperatures and extremely cold temperatures. 19 below zero. It was in 54. I wasn't born until 59. So Denise and Chris being the oldest, were born. They were youth, little kids. And Dad spent the whole night staying up, stocking the 2 wood stoves in that tent to keep them warm. At about 4 in the morning, Dad laid down and took a 2-hour nap. He got back up to restock the wood stoves. He grabbed the coffee pot to give him a little jolt of caffeine, and he shook that coffee pot. And he was sitting right next to that wood stove, and it had already slushed out. And if Dad would only known that God was trying to give him the first coffee slushy we could have been eating. 54, can you imagine how many millions we could have had by now? But you know, Dad didn't earn money that way. He earned it the old-fashioned way. He brought that, him and Mom brought that ground from a desert to a beautiful piece of ground, and it's been producing ever since. And that's where I learned the qualities of success. Hard work, dedication, persistence, visualization, and most importantly, determination. They were determined to make that a farm. Those are the qualities that took me all the way to the NFL. Played in 3 Super Bowls with the Redskins. 2 years with the Green Bay Packers. First year 4-12, the next year 10-6. We almost made the playoffs there. 1 game shot. And my wife Christy and I, 28 years married, we brought our 4 kids back to El Topi, Washington. We bought our first farm, and today we're farming 1,000 acres. And Christy's running the farm. I'm there as much as I can be there. I just came from the farm today. I worked there this morning. Got to pick up with Warren Ebert, a good friend of mine. Drove up here for this today. But I'm determined. I'm more determined to make this happen than I was to make it to the NFL. Because this is not about Clint Didier being a senator. It's about making sure that our kids, our grandkids, and every generation to come have that same shot at the American dream that we've all had. And it was given to us through opportunity, through sacrifices by brave men and women such as Warren Ebert and everybody else in here, men and women that have served in our military. Can I see a show of hands? How many people here have served in the armed forces? Thank you. Thank you. That opportunity that I was given was due to your sacrifices, ensuring our freedoms. And so as I read through Joe Gibbs' book, Game Plan for Life, because I really admire Joe Gibbs. He was my coach with the Redskins, but more importantly, he's a big Christian. Every time I went into his office, there it was. The Bible was open on his desk. And he'd always be getting up from that desk when I walked in to talk to him, whether he called me in there or I had something I wanted to talk to him about. And in that book, Game Plan for Life, deep in the back of that book, truth number 2, David. When I read this part of the book, it stuck to me like, and I'll never forget it. Everybody is asking the Lord for a blessing. Everybody wants to receive a blessing. Nobody wants to be the blessing. Nobody wants to be the guy to sacrifice and to bring people back to the Lord, to make this country whole again, so that our posterity may live in freedom. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Here I got Super Bowl rings, successful farmer, successful earth mover, coaching Connell High School football for 9 years, 4 state championship appearances, and I'm going to miss that terribly. We had our banquet, and it was a tearful exit. But I tell you, I told those young men, I said it's going to be far more important what I'm doing now than coaching in football. I'm going back to fight for your liberty and your freedom to make sure that we preserve it, and you can do whatever you want in life. The sky is the limit. They understand. We won that state championship last year with a good onslaught of sophomores and juniors, sprinkled with some seniors, so they're going back for another state championship. They'll be just fine with that. But that's sort of the story. Now, I'll take you clear back to where I was in high school. When I graduated from Connell, there was no mindset of anybody that I was going to be playing college ball, let alone the NFL. You see, when I graduated from Connell, I was 6'5", 167. I did nothing but grow up. And I was voted most likely to be broken in half on the football field. But at Connell High School, all we had was a universal gym. I tried to use it, it didn't do much. I went to CBC, and I had to talk my way onto the field. I got Larry Hattemer to come out. He needed some hay for his horses. I went out and I offered to help him load his hay trailer, and I was saying, hey, do you think there's a chance I could go play for you at CBC? And he goes, well, I don't know. We got a lot of guys coming in. But your brother, you know, Kurt played for him the 2 years previous to me, though. And I didn't realize at the time that Mom and Dad gave him $500. And the scholarship was only $99.